What's up, guys? Welcome to the Stats Free Sports channel. Let's get right into it. Here to bring you a college football prediction video, and it's on Hudson Card. I believe the former Texas quarterback will transfer to NC State. Let's talk about why. So before I get into why NC State, which should be obvious, but I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna go to my honorable mentions first. But before that as well, let's talk about Hudson Card. 6'2" quarterback, appeared in about 5 or 6 games this season. If you let Texas fans tell you he kind of lost them the season, especially in that Bama game, game one, game two, early on, very early in the season. If Quinn Ewers would have stayed in the game, they would have won. Texas would have beat Bama, understandably so. But there's other moments in the game as well where Texas could have or they did capitalize on um, that phantom call on Bryce Young with roughing the passer. You know, that was definitely the wrong call. Texas should have won that ball game there, but things happen. It is what it is. But Hudson Card, to me personally, could be one to watch next year. He could light it up going to the right systems and the right scheme. And I'm getting to a couple of teams who I believe will miss out on him. But if I'm wrong, they could definitely land him. One of these three teams could land him. First, I want to go with Brett Bielema and Illinois. Had a pretty good year this year. He had a tough 2 years. His first 2 years at Illinois was pretty tough. He went 13 and 11. This past season was pretty good. He had transfer quarterback from Syracuse, Tommy DeVito. He's on his way out, and I think Carr could be a great fit there. You know, even with Carr or whoever they bring in at quarterback, Illinois will still rely on their defense and running game. But bringing in Carr could elevate their offensive game a whole lot, and it's a move to watch. They're a sneaky dark horse in my opinion for the Hudson Card race, but I think they just missed out. Next, my personal favorite squad to land Hudson Card, but it probably won't happen, and that's because they're in the same conference. That's the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Him and Mike Gundy would be a dream fit. They have the same scheme dang near as Texas. It'll be a match made in heaven. You have a good quarterback coach, or a good coach that does offense, and kind of a quarterback whisperer in Mike Gundy. Then you have a scheme fit, another check, and then you get to play your former team and sour their season for the next year or so. So that's a double check. So everything's there. But the conference thing, Texas is going to definitely block that move. If they don't, I think they'll be a fool. I'm not going to lie to you, because Card is talented. Oklahoma State always had talent, as we know, over the past few years. Spencer Sanders been there for a while, finally leaving on after a couple years, after 4 or 5 years there. He has a great career there. I think Carr could pick up where he left off and be maybe even a little bit better. I like that. I like Carr a whole lot. But I just think the conference thing, which makes the most sense. I mean, I'm gonna block that too, being honest. So if I'm Texas, I'll block that too. I don't want to see him. He knows our system. He knows our guys for the most part. Uh, I wouldn't want to see him on a different, especially not on a talented team either. So yeah, I definitely will block that move. But if they don't, Card, Oklahoma State would be my favorite pick, and I think would be a shoe-in move, honestly. My last honorable mention team, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They had a pretty tough start to the year. New head coach, struggled, and I think most of the struggles came from the bad quarterback play. Drew Pine needed to elevate his game a little bit more, and he really couldn't do it throughout the year. He had some good moments, but nothing really to set him over the top. I think they could use an upgrade at quarterback, and probably be via the transfer portal. Hudson Card would be a great move there. Good scheme fit. I just think they miss out on Hudson Card. As I said earlier, I think he's going to the NC State Wolfpack. He's going to replace Drew Leary. But I think those three teams are definitely in the running to land him. But on to NC State. Why NC State? When I look at prediction videos for even pro teams, college teams, whatever, I always tend to go to connections and who you know. And if you remember, or if you do know, former Texas offensive coordinator / quarterback coach Tim Beck was heavy in the recruitment of Hudson Card going to Texas. He's now the NC State offensive coordinator now. and he still runs similar scheme, similar formations, similar plays as he did at Texas when he was under head coach. Forgot his name. Tom Herman at Texas a couple years back when Carr first was there. So you bring that familiarity in the scheme system. You come to the ACC, so you're going somewhere seeming a little bit easier than the Big 12. The ACC, the only real threat is probably Clemson and UNC. Other than that, you should be fine. To be honest, Florida State's they can play certain years, but haven't been good lately. Tech hasn't been good in a long time. UVA is nothing to worry about. So the real threat, Duke, some years can be a little iffy, but UNC with Drake May, especially now with Drake May, has Sam Howell a couple years last couple years. You have Clemson, who's kind of had a down year. I think ACC could be had. And bringing in Hudson Card to kind of take over where Leary left off if he does go, which I think he will. I don't think Leary's draft stock can get much higher. Some stars the first round pick going into the season. He played ECU game 1 this year. I reacted to it, gave my thoughts and takeaways. He's probably a round 3, round 4 guy, but can make some waves in the NFL if he goes to the right system, the right scheme fit. I think Carr could be in the same vein. Just needs the perfect fit, the perfect team around him. Going to ACC, getting a change of scenery, but going to a familiar face in Tom Beck would be the best move for me personally. Tim Beck. Sorry about that. And I think that'll be the best move for him, honestly, to get away from the Big 12, to get away from those shootouts and go to a good scheme, good team who's been good for years. Not just the last couple of years, but probably last decade, NC State has had pretty well-coached teams, well-played teams, tough outs against big-name teams, So I like this squad a lot, and adding on Hudson Card will put them in the same vein of where they at now. Devin Leary, in theory, prior to the season, was probably second favorite behind Clemson. Ended up not being the case. They had a couple injuries later on during the season, midway through the season, and ended up being UNC. But, I think NC State with Card next year, depending on health, depending on, more transfers, more college signings, more high school signings, depends on who they get in there, and to see what Clemson does to bounce back from this kind of an off year. Hudson Card could lead NC State to finally beat Clemson and win the NFC, to win the ACC championship next year, which is definitely possible, in my personal opinion. So we'll see where it goes, but I do think Hudson Card will land at NC State and be a Wolfpack next season. So that's it for the video, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys next time.